You still there? Did everybody fall asleep? I know one person left the room, okay? She couldn't take it. That's fine. It's not for everyone. All right. Going inside, being introspective, it's not the easiest thing, okay? So if you're not ready for it, that's fine, okay? You'll know when you're ready for it, okay? So this kind of practice, meditation, the slower stuff in our crazy society, it's like the last resort of what you want to do, right? Again, you know, it's we'll talk more about it after you take a little break. Okay, take a little break, about 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Get a drink. Okay, and we'll see you back here. Okay. Of course, how would I know? You know, I can't even hear you. Okay, so I'll just start. I hope you understood, especially the whole principle of the return, right? Okay, so this is really meditation 101. Okay, you're drifting off, you just come back. This is a calibration, a connectivity here. I'm gonna actually bring you. I don't want to see that at all. Sorry. Okay, so whatever instruction it may be. Okay, inhale, lengthening, exhale, softening, inhale, blowing up with air, exhale, soften and surrender. Okay, you're returning to that. It's an anchor, it's a constant. Okay, think about that tree. The tree trunk is the most stable part of the tree, right? And then the branches come out. Those are the thoughts. And then they get, the wind takes them off the leaves, and then you got to stabilize. So you go back to the trunk. It's just called the return, okay? Another thing real quick about that last sequence, just on kumbhaka, okay? So when we say pausing at the bottom of the exhale, that's kumbhaka. That's called retention, okay? This is pretty important, because what kumbhaka does, when you hold and retain the breath, it increases the amount of carbon dioxide in the rest of the body, but it actually increases the oxygen to the head and the brain, okay? So it really provides more concentration. It increases concentration, rather, okay? I don't know if you guys got to see the article. I hope all you did, okay? So those are just a couple articles I kept over the years. I like to do that. I have some things that I've kept for quite some time, just kind of help me out as far as understanding the practice, because it can get pretty confusing, right? I mean, yoga right now, the whole subject, it's just very general. It's kind of like the word food, you know, it's like, what is yoga? What is food? It's like, you really got to break them down, right? And there's so much out there that it gets very, very confusing, right? I mean, one teacher will teach you this thing, and then you'll go to this other one and you'll be like, that's weird, okay? So what I like about that article, especially the one on the asanas, is, you know, not only do they give you the true meaning and the literal meaning of yoga and meditation, but they kind of tell you how they're related, really, in the big picture of it all. But the crux of that article, it's really how a lot has been lost in translation, as far as when yoga was imported into our country and into the West from India. A lot has been lost in translation, okay? So let's say you're at a cocktail party or at Thanksgiving dinner, okay? And then you got stuck at the kiddie table with you and your grandma and the kids, okay? So let's say your grandma's like, what are you up to? And you're just like, oh my God, you know, I'm really into yoga. I really love it. I love the way it makes me feel. And, you know, I'm doing this teacher training, blah, blah, blah. So your grandma then asks you point blank, okay, what is yoga? You know, I mean, or maybe she says something like, you know, oh, is that the stuff with the, you put your body in a pretzel, that kind of thing? You know, you've all heard that, right? And maybe you do it in a sauna. Don't people do it in a sauna? Something like that. But no, so when you get asked the question, what is yoga? It's kind of hard to answer. It's kind of hard to define, right? I mean, you're probably not going to give the answer as the literal definition. You're not going to say, Grandma, yoga is union. Yoga is union of the individuality with the totality. Okay, you're just not going to do that, and if you do, she'll probably look at you weird. Okay, so what you're more than likely going to answer is something along the lines of yoga. Is a more physical entity. Even you might even say it's more like an exercise. Okay, grandma, we move. We stretch a little. We have these things called poses. There are a lot of dogs involved. Okay, what have you. Okay, so the point being, it's a very physical thing, and that's how we associate it. That's how we know it in the West. Okay, that you think of images of yoga. You think about Instagram. You think about beautiful bodies on the cover of Yoga Journal, right? You think Lululemon, right? And all that stuff, it's really sexy. Okay, it's racy. It's got some teeth. It's got some allure, right? So that makes sense. That and as the article suggests, that this is the most marketable part of yoga, the physical limb, right? And all you trainers know that this is just one limb of yoga. There are 8 limbs which embody the whole thing, okay? Let's see here: asana, pranayama, niyama, yama, what else? Pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. Okay, I probably forgot one of them, but that's the point: is that yoga is really the physical stuff. That's the one that's most tangible for us. Okay, we could actually feel our body getting stronger and longer. We could actually feel our chest and our heart open. We could actually feel the glisten of the glaze of the sweat coming down. Okay, this is very tangible. And for that reason, it's sexy, right? And we can kind of jive with that. But just know that this is just one part of yoga. I mean, you guys are all learning this, okay? And it's kind of like you're just turning the key with the physical poses, okay? And then it's kind of like the gatekeeper in Ghostbusters, right? You're turning the key with just the physical stuff. And then it's about opening the door to get into all those other limbs, those rooms, okay? And then eventually getting to samadhi bliss, okay, through meditation. So if your grandma asks you what meditation is, you're probably going to, again, you're probably not going to give the literal definition of meditation. Okay, you're not going to say meditation is the act of deliberately changing your state of consciousness by using your mind, your body, or your breath. You're not going to say that, but you might say something just as mundane. Okay, because it's not sexy. Meditation. Okay, well, grandma, you sit down in meditation and you close your eyes, and so some people are monks and they wear robes, and you maybe have a little permagrin there, and it's really great because you feel this peace and you feel this stillness. Okay, and you get rid of your thoughts, which we already know is not true. Okay, you don't get rid of the thoughts at all. All right, so the point being, and he goes into this, is that the physical asanas and all the other limbs, all they do is they prepare the body for meditation. Okay, myself, I embraced this and embodied this very, very physical practice for years, and that's all I knew. But I had a hunch. I knew there was much more. Okay, it's kind of like I got to that door, I turned the key with the physical poses, but I didn't open it. Okay, and I think a lot of people kind of stay outside the house there. Okay, so this is key, just to get opening that door through meditation, and it's like any other thing, meditation. Okay, it takes time. It's like any other modality that you learn. You gotta find a teacher who resonates with you, and then that takes different things, and you gotta find trust and respect and understanding. So this takes a long time, but it's simply changed my life for the better forever. And I didn't know all this at all. I got lucky. I bumped into somebody and he set me straight and he pointed me in the right direction, and that's why I went to India for 3 years. Okay, so I mean, it's a long story. I'll tell you real quickly, but You know, my yoga path, it's not an original story. Okay. I was working a very high stress corporate job in downtown Manhattan. And, you know, it got to the point where I needed something spiritual to battle all of this stress. So I found the yoga and I fell in love with it. I was smitten with it right away. I thought it was more of an art form. I thought it was that beautiful, just the moving and stuff. And I think that was the biggest appeal for me. Fast forward a little, 9/11 happens, right? So I kind of had enough. I moved up to Cold Spring, 9/11, right after 9/11, and I quit the corporate job. All right, and you know, I got into yoga even more, and I started. You know, I took a training then, and I started a life up here in the Hudson Valley. And you know, the key to up here, it's so darn beautiful, but you got to kind of keep busy, right? You kind of do something. So I did all these side jobs, you know, just crazy jobs. I'm too embarrassed to tell you. One of them, though, and I'm the kind of guy who heeds all those kind of old adages, kind of those stupid quotes like, "Oh, do what you love, and the money will follow." Okay, so I kind of believe in that stuff. So I did that, and trust me, the money doesn't follow. Okay, whoever's listening out there. So all of you teacher trainees, I'm sure Amanda told you, you know, you're not going to be part of the 2% teaching yoga. Okay, so you got to love it, and I love it, and I did it. So one of my side jobs was working for the taxi company, okay, the livery company, taking people to and from the airport, you know, JFK, Newark, wherever. And one of my customers was this Indian doctor. His name was Dr. Desai. He doesn't live here anymore. And, you know, he was just so amazing to me because he was so cool and calm and collected. He's the kind of person whose aura just makes you more grounded. So every time he got in my car, I was like, woof, oh my God, you know, this is amazing, this guy. And it's just, you know, you just become very, very present. So anyway, he would frequently have his eyes closed during the trips. And, you know, I just thought he was sleeping or something. And so one time, I think we were lost, like, you know, Jamaica or something, Queens. And he had his eyes closed. And then I was going, and we were in traffic, and he said, you know, why don't you take the shortcut? And I said, oh, yeah, that's fine, doctor. You know, I thought you were sleeping. And then he said, you know, no, I was just doing yoga. And then, you know, I'd never seen yoga like that, just someone closing their eyes, right? And, you know, the bottom line is yoga is meditation, okay? It's not the physical, it's the embodiment. But anyway, so being the fledgling rookie yoga teacher that I was, you know, I'd said, yeah, well, doctor, I teach yoga, you know, and then, you know, I'll never forget it. He said this to me. He said, what the hell do you know about yoga? And, you know, it was kind of amusing, but it was also very condescending. And this is really, you know, before that, we'd have, you know, very comfortable conversations, you know, very superficial ones, really. But, you know, that kind of struck me. And, you know, and then I tried to answer. I just sounded stupid. I was like, oh, you know, yoga, there's, you know, down dog, and, you know, people, you know, we like to play music, and, you know, and I've got a playlist, you want to hear it? And, you know, thus began this huge schooling of me from this guy. I found out that he was this 5th generation yogi. His families all were from Pune and from Mysore. Okay, so he really taught me a lot of stuff. He told me to go to India because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I'm glad I did. And it was the most defining moment for me as a yoga teacher, because, you know, his main thing was telling me that our country has gotten all backwards, okay? And that the yoga poses are just merely, or simply rather, not merely, to prepare the body for deep meditation. Okay, that's he said that. He gave me all these stories, and one of them was that these poses, these sequences, the flow, that's a derivative of Ashtanga. Okay, all these sequences were created just so that little boys who were restless in India in the ashram could settle down and meditate. The girls were fine. The girls were totally like, oh yeah, we know how to do this. But the boys were running around wreaking havoc. So this is where these sequences come from, okay? Preparing the body, making the energy flow so you can sit comfortably and quietly, okay? So yeah, I mean, it was a, sorry for the long-winded story, but that's the deal. And I'm just glad I met him. And it's changed my life a little bit. So, you know, he kind of inspired me to go to India, and you know, he's just like, you got to go, you know, meditate in these places. You know, this is the yoga, the meditation. Okay, that's all it is. And you know, it's kind of interesting and cool, and I had to grow into that line of thinking, but eventually I went there. So what about the meditation? Why is it so darn good? How does it work, right? So in order to understand it a little, okay, we got to understand a little bit of neuroscience. All right, so we all know we have a left brain and a right brain, okay? Left hemisphere, right hemisphere, okay? And each side, each hemisphere, they have different qualities, they have different characteristics, they have different different functions, okay? They govern different functions. So the left brain to anything critical thought, there. I think I'm losing you. Just let me know. You can hear? Thumbs up? Can you hear me?
We can hear
No?
you now. It went underwater there just for a moment.
Can you hear me
So
now?
starting with left brain. Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. So I don't have to tell that stupid story of me in the taxi? Okay.
We liked your story, and we heard that part. We just we lost you at the brain hemisphere.
Just left brain. Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry. What a way to spend a Saturday, huh? So, okay. So the left brain has those functions, okay? The math, the checkbook, all this stuff, the critical thinking, okay? So the problem is, okay, and getting back to our crazy society, a lot of that's from technology and capitalism, okay? How crazy and fast this society has become. So it's just stress, right? We cannot handle the stress, and more on that later on, more on the stress part. But so the problem is that we've been overworking the left brain in a big way, okay? So we're taking that left brain to the gym way too much, okay? We're overworking that. So it's like, think, achieve, make money so I can be happy in the future. Think, achieve, take action so I can make money in the future, okay? So meanwhile, our poor little right brain is getting neglected, and it's atrophying. So the right brain is in charge of the right now, the present, okay? So we're talking about stuff like it's in charge of creativity, intuition, creative problem solving, music, color, connectedness, okay? So what we're doing with meditation is we're taking that right gym to the brain, okay? We're taking the right gym to the brain so it can be equal and balanced to the left brain, okay? The left brain never stops. It never misses a day. It never misses leg day, okay? Everybody misses leg day but the left brain, okay? So it's about balancing. So you look at anatomy, you see, the brain is split 50-50. So Mother Nature didn't intend it to be 90-10, okay? So what meditation does is it creates this neuroplasticity, okay, which connects the two sides of the brain. So there's this little thin white strip, it's called the corpus callosum, and that connects the two sides of the brain. In meditators, and this is scientific study, it's all out there, the evidence. In meditators, the corpus callosum is thicker. And as you meditate over time, so the cumulative effect, that strip gets really, really thick, okay? So it gets so thick that other parts of the brain, negative parts, actually shrink, like the amygdala, okay? That's the fear center. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, Free Solo, okay? It's about this guy, Alex, Honnold, I think is his name, who I think he free solos up Half Dome or whatever, one of those peaks in Yosemite. Okay, and what free solo means is you don't use ropes. Okay, you're crazy. So he went all the way up there. He's the only one who did it, the only one who tried it, and they filmed it. And so scientists and doctors were like, you know, that's really messed up. We should check his brain out. And so they did an EEG scan, and it turns out he had no amygdala. He had no amygdala left. He had no fear. And it turned out, they found out he's a huge meditator. Okay. So the moral of that story is, you know, don't meditate to climb a mountain and all that stuff, but it's all about the connectivity. Okay. So the right and the left brain, the neuroplasticity, this is what, this is what, this is what meditation's about. Okay. The neuroscience of it, connectivity. Okay. Because, you know, mostly one quadrant usually is lit up for us in our waking state. But in meditation, all 4 quadrants are going and lit up. Okay. There's more on that. Okay. We'll delve more into that in the course there. Okay. So let's talk about types of meditation. Okay. So there are thousands of meditations. Okay. Thousands upon thousands. You'd be really surprised. Different styles, different schools, different perspectives. But generally, especially the ones we know in the mainstream, they can be in one of 2 categories. Okay. So one of them is mindfulness. Okay. You've heard this word. Okay. It's a word that's thrown out a lot. Okay. Mindfulness, and it also sometimes is called focused attention. So mindfulness is when you're focusing, the mind is focusing on one specific thing. Okay, so we did that during class. We did that in the breathing, right? Well, we're focused on inhale, rising, exhale, falling. Or we're focusing on the image. Inhale, the chest rises. Exhale, the shoulders melt down. One focal point, okay? So this can be, let's say you're imagining the chakras, or you're looking at a candle or a waterfall. This is all the same. Mindfulness, visualization, like when we're in the Supta Baddha, right? Oh, imagine you're under a tree and it's great and the clouds. That's the same thing. Mindfulness. And what mindfulness does is it gets rid of stress in the present. Okay, so you know, even that extended exhale, right? The extended exhale. Okay, let's say you're driving on Route 9, you got cut off. Okay, and your heart's beating fast. You got to pull over, right? You do that, lengthening the exhale. You're addressing the stress in the present moment. And this is what mindfulness does. It's very, very powerful. It secretes all these bliss chemicals like cortisol, or excuse me, those are bad chemicals like serotonin, okay, and dopamine, okay. The other category, okay, you might have heard as transcendence, okay, or self-induced transcendence, or you might have heard it associated as a mantra meditation, okay? Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a prompt there. So transcendence is a state in the mind, which is the deepest and most profound. This is the meditation that I practice regularly. Okay, I practice all of these that we're going through, but this one every day, twice a day. Okay. This one is all about the deeper self. Okay, the most profound entity in the world inside of you. Okay, so I know that's kind of a blanket general statement. That's hard to understand. So it's best to actually explain through an analogy. Okay. An ocean analogy. So let's say the mind is the ocean, okay? And on the surface of the ocean, we see these big 50-foot swells, okay? Maybe you're in a little boat, okay? Big 50-foot waves and spells. It's like the perfect storm, okay? And this is that monkey mind, okay, on the surface, okay? One of my teachers calls it the gotta mind. Okay, so I got to call her and I got to check that out and I got to get an oil change and I got to call the doctor. I got to make the appointment. Gotta. It's always running. It's a monkey mind. It's crazy, right? It's this society. It's crazy. It's fast. Okay, so when you see these waves and swells and you take a cross section of the whole ocean, you'll notice that a couple of miles down, wherever the bottom of the ocean, the deepest part, it's totally quiet. It's totally serene. It's totally soft. So this is transcendence. You're going to the deepest part of the ocean, the most quiet, the most subtle. There are a lot of other adjectives, okay? And this deepest part of the ocean is, it's a verifiable fourth state of consciousness. Okay, so there are really three general states of consciousness. One is waking state, one is sleeping, and one is dreaming. Now, when we say verifiable fourth state, in those three other states, dreaming, waking, sleeping, the left and the right brains, they work separately, okay? But in transcendence, in this state of consciousness, they work in unison. How do we know? Because when somebody's transcending, you put an EEG on, you'll see that the nodes, the LEDs, there are 8 on each side. They're working in unison, they're connected. With the other states, it's just one or the other, okay? So how do we get to this deepest part of the ocean? Okay, so and this is really breaking it down here. It's with the use of what's called a mantra. Okay, so we should really go over the word mantra because it's really been hijacked by the wellness industry, and people think mantra means something, but it doesn't. Okay, so a mantra is not a slogan, it's not an affirmation, and it's not a tagline. So if you say something to the effect of, you know, I'm a strong woman, or, you know, I'm a positive thinker, positive thinking is me, and, you know, loving kindness, whatever, is my mantra. If you say that, then it's very inaccurate, okay? So a mantra is simply a sound or a vibration, okay? So when you're in a mantra meditation, you're simply repeating this sound over and over, silently to yourself in the head, until you get so deep that you can float all the way down to that state of consciousness, the deepest part of the ocean. Okay, so mantra, when you break it up in Sanskrit, man means mind, tra means vehicle. So you're taking the mind from one place, the gotta mind at the surface with the waves, to another place, all the way down to the deep quiet, okay, the subtle layer. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so can you hear me? Any thumbs up?
We can hear you. You're good.
Sorry. So at that deepest part of the ocean, okay, that's where you find the most amount of rest. Okay, it's the deepest rest possible, okay, for anyone. And in that deep rest, that's where we start to what's called de-excite the nervous system. Okay, so when you de-excite the nervous system, you create order. Okay, so when you create order, that's when you get rid of stress. That's when you're able to get rid of stress. And this meditation, different from the mindfulness, which gets rid of stress in the present, this meditation gets rid of stress in the past. Okay, whether it be, you know, when that dog that bit you when you were 5, or that person that didn't invite you to your birthday when you were 8, or you know, when your parents had that fight when you were 13. Okay, this is what is getting cleaned out when you reach that spot. Okay, and you can look at it like this. You could give another analogy. Okay, so imagine the computer is a brain. Okay, and you know, over our lifetime as humans, we accumulate what's called PCCs, pre-cognitive commitments. And PCCs represent every little thing of stress we've ever experienced, and they're in ourselves over a lifetime. Okay, so by the time we're like 20, we have 10 million PCCs. So that's like every single shot of tequila you ever had, every single all-nighter you called, and every single breakup that you've been in. Okay, that's a PCC. So just imagine these PCCs are open windows, okay, on your computer, right? And you got to X these out somehow. It's so much fun Xing those out, right? So let's just say you're at work, okay, on your computer, you're in a cubicle, okay? You work for whatever the office show, okay? And then you look down and you see that it's lunchtime. It's 12 noon, okay? And then you say, okay, I'm gonna stop work. I'm gonna close that out, and I'm just gonna eat by my desk. I'm gonna, you know, with my computer here. And then you just figure, okay, I'm gonna open a little Facebook. I'm gonna open a little Twitter. How about a little YouTube? I remember that video I want to watch, that cat video, and oh yeah, I'm gonna open that New York Times article my friend sent me, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what happens is you accumulate all these windows that are open, right? And then your lunch hour's over all of a sudden, and then you go back to your work. You know, maybe you're writing some dissertation for someone, and then you notice that the cursor is like 30 spaces behind. Okay, so you notice that the computer is no longer working as best as it can. Okay, so this meditation gets rid of the PCCs and it X's out all of those windows. Okay, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Sorry, I'm babbling. Let's see, what else do you want to do here? How are we doing on time? I think I'm running a little late. Oh,
It's 1:08, so we
okay.
have about
Is everybody
12 minutes.
on a tight schedule? Everybody
You're
is?
okay. We allowed for a buffer in here, so
Are you sure? Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. All right. So I'll cut the one at the end. All right. So we'll see. So let's go back to that personal definition of meditation. Meditation is the act of deliberately changing your state of consciousness by using your breath, your body, or your mind. Okay, so what that means is you don't need anything externally. Okay, so it's just your breath you're using, or your body, or your mind, nothing else. So some people say like skiing is my meditation, or running is my meditation. It's not. There are different words for that. Okay, so that's because skiing, you need skis. This is external. You need a ski mount. Okay, similarly with like exercise. Okay, that it's not a meditation really, because you know, whenever you exercise, you're doing something externally. Okay, so it's all about how we've evolved into just seeking our fulfillment in external ways, right? And it's called, one of my teachers calls it the "I'll be happy when" syndrome. Okay, it's kind of like, I'll be happy when you know, I get engaged. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I get divorced. I'll be happy when I make $1 million. I'll be happy when I make $1 billion. And then I'll be happy when I get a jet, right? So it's all about dangling the carrot there. If we're externally, you know, dependent, and you dangle the carrot your whole life, and then you die. Okay, so this meditation teaches you how to not be dependent on that, and find your fulfillment within. Okay, so you know, the only thing when you're talking about the pandemic, okay, the only thing that I can compare it to that's similar is actually my meditation retreat, my first one in India. It was 2008, I think, and it was in an ashram. And the program was 10 days. And it is not indicative of the word retreat at all. Okay, this is how I looked at it. Okay, there was no rest and relaxation for me during that. We were fully shut out by the external world. You know, no cell phone, no computer. You weren't even allowed to bring a book or to write a journal. Okay, you know, we meditated all day, every day. There were 2 meals a day. And I was miserable. It was hot. It was buggy. The beds were hard. The living quarters were really tight, and I didn't make it. Okay, I think I made it through the 6th day or the 7th day, and you know, I just called it quits. I would later go back to that same place and complete it, but the issue is that for me was that I wasn't ready to detach myself from all those external things. Okay, and this is what the pandemic is doing. The pandemic is forcing us to come inside and not be dependent on external things. The pandemic is forcing us to meditate. Okay, so in that respect, it's actually a good thing. And I know that's not the most popular sentiment as far as this pandemic being a positive thing, but you look at the world society and you can see things changing already. You can see more awareness. Okay, whether it be about racism coming to life and, you know, essential workers and their respect for them, little things are going to start to blossom, maybe not even in our lifetime, okay? But this is all because we're going inside. We're going more introspectively, okay? So, all right, I had a bunch of stuff, but what we'll do is we'll close here. We'll close with a breathing meditation, all right? Called Nadi Sodhana, and that means alternate nostril breathing. Okay, and what it does is it directly balances the left and right brains. Okay, that neuroplasticity, and you can see it manifested in many different ways. Okay, so what's interesting about each brain is that one brain dominates for a couple hours, and the other one will take over after that couple hours. So they actually alternate. So these functions that they have, these qualities, creativity on one side and then math on the other, they alternate. So you could see it in, let's say you get in a fight with your spouse or something, all right, and it gets really heated and escalated. And then you start yelling stuff, and while you're yelling it, you know that you're losing your mind, okay? And you know that it's not the right stuff to come out of your mouth. So maybe you end up and you end up taking off in a huff and a puff, and you slam the door shut, right? And then 2 hours later, you start thinking of all these witty comebacks that you could have said when you were in the heat of the moment of the argument. Okay, so that's how that works. And, you know, maybe you come back and you said, oh, and another thing, you know, you never put the toilet seat up, okay, stuff like that. You could also see this manifested, this imbalance here manifested in like writers and creative types, okay? Like if you're a writer and you got a deadline by the end of the day, you know, in the beginning of the day, you might be totally blocked, total writer's block. You have no idea what to say, well, no idea what to write. And then 2 hours later, you know, the other side of the brain kicks in, and then all of a sudden you have these epiphanies, and the pen just starts flowing. The ideas start flowing, okay? And that's because of the alternation. So this breathing meditation, all it simply does is balance that out so you can more effectively fight with your spouse, okay? All right. So just sit comfortably, all right? And the left palm, okay, we'll bring it face up. And we'll bring it just to rest on the knee or the thigh there, okay? The right hand, okay, we're just gonna have it face me for a sec, and we're gonna depress the right forefinger and the right middle finger, okay, just like that, kind of like a little hand puppet here, a little chaka, a little reggae, okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn that, okay, we're gonna turn that around, like so, okay, so the palm is facing you now, okay, so the way this works is that we bring this towards the sides of the nostrils. So we're going to use our ring finger to open and close the left nostril. And we're going to use our thumb to open and close the right nostril. So we're just going to test that out, okay, kind of like a pre-warm-up here. So go ahead and just find a spot up the nose with your ring finger, up the left nostril, and just maybe it's towards the bridge, maybe it's more in the middle, okay? And then just push that in a bit so you close the left nostril, and go ahead and take a few breaths up and down the right nostril. See how that feels. And maybe it's a nice clear airway. Okay, go ahead and let go of that. And we'll bring this thumb, the right thumb, and we'll depress the right nostril and see how that feels up the left nostril, breathing up and down the left nostril, okay? And when you breathe up the left nostril, it feeds the other side of the brain, the right brain, and then vice versa. Okay, go ahead and depress that. Okay, so we'll keep the fingers towards us, okay? And we'll keep them steady right here, like so, okay? And then we'll begin the alternate nostril breathing, the Nadi Sadhana. So I'll call it for a couple of rounds, and then you can just go on your own for a bit, okay? So to start here, just take a full inhale in, okay? Take a deep breath in, sorry. And on the exhale, let's depress this nostril here and come out the right nostril. Inhale, go up the right nostril, and then switch, close that. Exhale, come out the left nostril. Inhale, up the left nostril. Switch, exhale, out the right nostril. Inhale, up the right nostril, and on the exhale, switch and come out the left. Keep going here. Okay, don't worry about the fingers. You'll get more comfortable. And you can go ahead and close your eyes in this one. Okay, close your eyes. And just getting comfortable with the fingers pressing and depressing on the sides of the nostrils, the nadis, the channel. And you could probably feel a nice full range with the breath now, especially the inhale going up the nostril. And similarly, a nice long exhale going down the nostril. And over time, you'll get more coordinated with the fingers there. It's a little more subtle, the pressing and the depressing, okay? So you're not really squeezing so hard. And just want a little more subtle, and you don't really squeeze at the top at all. So it's just a kind of like a quick little switch there at the top when you switch. Just a few more rounds, keeping the eyes closed. And keeping the eyes closed, just remove the fingers from the nostrils and just bring your palms softly face up on top of the knee. And just feel the energy from the alternate nostril breathe. So powerful. And then just kind of bow your forehead down a little. Softly bring your palms together in front of your heart. Namaste. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much, Julian.
Who's that?